Hello everybody and welcome to the Blackjack chassis variant series. We're kicking off now again with the Blackjack 1DC. This is actually a refinement of a other variant of the Blackjack that currently isn't in MechWarrior Online, the 1DB. Now, for clarification, the 1DB was a variant created by Davion that replaced the jump jets and pretty much all the other weaponry in the mech, the autocannons and the medium lasers, to add more heat sinks and 2 large lasers. It was a response to a Kuritan swarm tactic that was defeated by the use of standard blackjacks, and the Great House of the Federated Sons decided that they'd experiment a bit. Now, the 1DC, which we have here, was another refinement of the standard blackjack, and this one also removed some of the equipment to further up the firepower of the mech ever so slightly. Basically, they dropped the jump jets, which came standard with the original mech, and stuck in a couple of small lasers and a extra heatsink, standard heatsink, to deal with the extra heat generated. So basically, MechWarrior Online that creates a blackjack with a hell of a lot of energy hardpoints, 6 as standard, plus the 2 autocannons. So again, it can be a very, very deadly close-range killer. It can use a hell of a lot of varied energy setups if you want to run it in any particular way that suits your playstyle. This is definitely one of those mechs that can help out with that. Obviously, small pulse lasers, medium pulse lasers are probably the go-to if you just want to bring a shit ton of energy. But I wouldn't negate the ballistics again, like all the blackjacks. You know, decent high mounting for the hard points. It's relatively easy to fire them and aim them, and you can get a decent amount of ammunition in there if you want to run the 2 AC2s. Like a jump jets does kind of hurt the build, I found, because it was always nice to be able to hop up and use the jump jets to sort of get an angle on where enemies were so I could reposition. But as a kind of support mech, again, using the AC2s, it's brilliant. You can just really, really harass bigger targets, and let's face it, there's no shortage of bigger mechs running around in MechWarrior Online. How it deals with light mechs, it's not as good, obviously, with the inability to really pack anything like streaks or just any kind of hard-hitting weaponry. You've got to hope that the light pilot you're up against is going to stay still or run directly at you to make it, you know, worthwhile firing those energy weapons that you've got, because you're going to overheat quick if you're not careful. Even though it's only 2 small lasers, with the 4 on top, heat builds up quickly, and AC2s still provide a surprising amount of heat. I find in this game. I don't know why AC2s generate quite as much heat as they do. Probably to relegate the rapid firepower, rate of fire that they've got. So, 1DC, yeah, it's definitely a decent build. I could see people obviously preferring running the ballistics as machine gun hardpoints instead, rather than AC2s. AC2s are a bit of a sticking point, I think, for some players, because they don't really, for the weight that you're asked to sacrifice to mount these 2 weapons, you're not really getting a lot of damage out of the deal. Whereas a couple of machine guns, you massively increase your critical hit rate when you're firing them at close range, and you can just whack in a bunch of, as I said, small pulses or small lasers or whatever works for you, and still have some relatively decent firepower in there. So, yeah, the 1DC, it's probably a better option compared to the 1, because the jump jets, if you're not really that bothered, aren't a massive sacrifice, and in terms of hard points, you do get more energy out of the deal. So yeah, it's not a bad trade-off. I mean, compared to the rest of the blackjacks, you know, it has all the same all chassis benefits of the high-mounted ballistics. So yeah, it depends how you want to run it. In dual AC5s is entirely possible, but it would sacrifice most of the rest of the mechs. Probably some of the armor, the engine size, and the other weaponry like the lasers. I believe this can take up to a 235 engine, so the speed isn't going to be amazing either. But again, it's alright for mounting an XL just to get in extra ammunition if you are going to keep some of the larger AC weapons. Or if you want to mount things like double heat sinks, just to negate some of the heat buildup you're going to get, it can help with that. Especially if you can get a big enough engine, you can whack a couple of heat sinks in the engine itself, which is very good. So I don't think this one is due to last long. I'm looking a bit rough. I don't remember how these turn out, because I record them a while back and then I do the narration as the series dictates. Although I am sort of remembering this bit, I don't think it ends well. I think it's going to end horribly. Stupid. Yeah, it's also mounted laser and you can't aim high enough. Oh, we'll just go in. Just go in here, I'm sure it'll be safe. I'm pretty sure I get popped in the back in a second, or something just like vaporizes me front arm. But yeah, 1DC, it's worth it. So if you're in the market for blackjacks, this isn't a bad variant to jump in with. There we go. Yeah, Novas. Lots of lasers. Novas. Well, we'll get to them eventually on the chassis series. Very straightforward mechs. But yeah, blackjacks. That's what we're focusing on. Focus! Blackjacks. They're great. They are a decent 45 tonner. What you get for your weight is relatively powerful, actually. Much better than hardpoint wise compared to, say, the Vindicators. So I don't think this has got much left, so thanks for watching, everybody, again. I hope you all have a good week, and I'll see you on the next vid. So yeah, Chris the Rocket signing out.